Welcome. And the track hearing is, I forgot the name already. Milky, just the way you are. It's quite a nice track. I heard it through first the memes because I obviously don't hear much like music that's, especially of this age. It's like the 2000s, I believe. That's up. I don't really hear that many decent tracks from the 2000s anymore. It's quite rare nowadays. It's often like crappy remixes of stuff, and then you got something like this which is just euphoric and upbeat, and it's just so fucking good. Even though it's got like really simple sort of vocals there, someone just going do do do, and yeah, it follows a nice sort of harmonic pattern as well. I think just played on guitar, and it's about, I think it's E string 3/4 to E string 6, yeah 6, because I'm on E flat standard. I'm talking about E standard, and it resolves with like a G string 5/3 as well. That's basically the entire melody, and it just sounds good. It's something to do with timings and I think syncopation, if I've understood it correctly. Not sure if that's right. It's also just a nice song in general. Pretty much about someone being the way they are, being, I don't know, like attractive or being likable. I don't think it's inherently like a romantic song. It definitely is something. And I first heard these from those YouTube shorts, this song, the YouTube shorts, about like the school days, like back in the school. These funny clips of like these people enacting what happens when you're back in school as students, and it's quite funny. There's some really funny ones there. It's like, yeah, this music is paired with it, and it's a pretty good choice. Does kind of work. A bit like all the other songs, to be honest. That's usually a clip of it, but this one's actually kind of the full song, weirdly enough. Because this is what the song basically is. It's just the same melody, same lyrics, and it's just got an upbeat pattern to it. There's nothing too bad about it, and it's got a solo in between, actually. Like, not sure if it's guitar solo. Didn't actually catch what instrument it is now. Just a bit embarrassing. I should know my guitar solos. I'm a guitarist. Oh wait, that's only if I'm discriminating against guitars. Oh, that's right. Wait, no. Something like that anyway. But, yeah, I just love this song. It has to be said, even though it's like my first time ever hearing it only a few weeks ago. It's just grown on me. It's a weird case where it did sort of grow on me, and I like the chords, I like the melody, the bass. Fucking hell, the bass is good. Even though it's, again, quite simple, like everything else in it. It's just a fun listen. It's not something I'm going to turn off if it ever comes on the radio, and that's why it's become part of my playlist. It's just that good. Yeah. But definitely look out for a cover of this, potentially, because that's how much I like it. It's going to be one of those things, I think. It's like a cover I probably make that's really good. I'm predicting it's going to be anyway. Because usually when I make euphoric tracks in a metal style, it turns out pretty good from what I've done anyway. Depends on the track, obviously, but it does work usually. I'm trying to think the last time I did that. I'm going to embarrass myself. I'm thinking of like Ackerman stage. There's another euphoric track. The one I'm working on at the moment is kind of more jazzy than euphoric, but it's got a lot of chromatic stuff. If I don't know how I missed that, because that's really impressive. On this cover, I'll just mention it. The entire melody in the last section is pretty much chromatic scale, which is insane, and yet it doesn't sound out of place. It is so bizarre. Usually when you do chromatic scale, it just doesn't sound right. But either way, yeah, this is the track, so I better move on to the first topic as soon as I can. I've done this in Final Fantasy. Yeah, there's one more thing that I got. So yeah, let's move on. It's just so weird. I've just thought about. I don't believe that there is such a thing as an ugly appearance. I genuinely think it doesn't exist, and there's reasons why. And they should be obvious, but it depends. But some people don't want to believe it. So it's kind of like, I'm not really sure. But what do I even say with this? Like, there is no such thing. Because what we base beauty on, or whatever preference we have for something that's cute or what, is entirely personal rather than, I'd say, inherent. And I think that's the difference. I think you can come to terms with people who maybe don't have the looks but have something else or something. It's generally why I don't like discussions around quote unquote attractiveness, because I don't think such a thing can exist. Literally, I just don't. Because it's down to your preferences, which deep down you can't change, and even then, if you can't change it, why are you even saying things like ugly? It's just a thing we prescribe to things the same way beauty is. And nobody's actually like fully beautiful, if that makes sense. Yeah, I've just always not liked the idea that there is such a thing as ugly and beautiful person. I think personality wise there is, yes, you can do that. That's a societal judgment that we make. We do it all the time, even when you don't think you do. But for something like appearance where you can't change things, it's also just really offensive and unnecessary. It's often why I don't like the comments about mocking people's like genitalia, because it doesn't really work, it doesn't help either. Like, people point out that some people have, I don't know, ugly vaginas or small penises, and then completely make a mockery out of it and annoy people with it. But what they don't understand is that you can't change things. You can't change these things at all. And that really puts a spanner in the works, so there isn't any way to change it, really. At least to my knowledge, and it reminds me of this idiotic thing that Charlie said, Penguinsy, and Most Critical. I didn't even get that name anyway, Most Critical, oh well. But it reminded me of this thing about a news story where someone went on TV claiming to have the world's tiniest penis or something, or one of the tiniest anyway. And it's kind of like, oh, tiny penis ever. But like, what does that even fucking do? What does that even solve? Because obviously you probably live miserably with one. And it's the same as like putting someone down for having depression or even some sort of like birth defects. So it's really fucking sensitive to even laugh at these things to begin with. And even then, there are people making jokes about it in the comments, like it won't affect them ever in their fucking life because they don't have to fucking care, do they? I don't know. But that's why I often feel like it's such a unfair thing to even have, because it's not fair to have. And to have these comments on top of that makes no sense at all. Because what the fuck are you supposed to do? And in the same video that I mentioned, there's also a case where Most Critical was looking to, well, these alternatives to say that replace the tiny penis. One of them was someone who grew it on their arm, a new one, except it's not usable necessarily, and it's a strange idea to have it on your arm as well. So I'm not sure why they did that, but it's another thing entirely. But there's also just the fact that it doesn't function the same, and it's worse than having obviously what you got, like a smaller one. And again, this is why I don't like judging by appearances. I don't fucking care if, like, for example, myself getting like anal or something, I won't be able to get it from someone with a small penis, but I don't fucking care. So that's not really the point. It's about enjoying the person I'm with for who they are, rather than how they appear. And that's something that I've realised for a long time. And it's different to like a discussion that I used to have about, I think it was about dating on disability, as in mental disabilities and stuff, and even intellectual disabilities, and people have some really stupid takes of it. But essentially I'm keeping mine to myself at this point because people I can't fucking trust with it. But basically, everyone with an intellectual disability is not really a child, but they are simply understanding of what they understand. Well, there's complete differences there, and I think people will exploit that soundly, which is again why I can't share what I know. But people are just incredibly fucking stupid, not the disabled people, but the people looking in at this thing, at this entire situation. And it just doesn't make any sense, and technically my previous girlfriend had some sort of intellectual disability, like from what I can understand. Because she definitely didn't seem like a typical, I don't know, like girl of her age. And yeah, I come to that conclusion and I realise like we could have actually gone quite far had the relationship stayed. And we both understood it. Well, that's the difference. People think, oh, because she has a speech impairment, which she definitely did. I probably contributed to the breakup, to be fair. And not my fault though, I didn't do it. But because of that, people think, oh, well, she's still just a kid, isn't she? No, she's like in her fucking 30s, like, what are you on about? It's just ridiculous what people say, and she also has things that we can enjoy. It's like, fuck off. You people really do not understand disability, so you shouldn't comment on it. That's why I don't like having this discussion. It genuinely doesn't make any sense, and again it's tied to the sort of appearance. That is an appearance. A voice is appearance. If you like it or not, that is. So, again, it just doesn't make sense. I don't even know what else to say. It's like appearances of someone's face, the, again, birth defects, or even just accidents that people can have, do end up causing harm and even trauma, especially as a result of what people say about you or want to believe about you. It's actually insane the amount of discrimination people can get for just that. So it's quite harmful in the end, because the reality is quite clear. People just want things that most visually please them, which is just really selfish. It's corruption. Again. And if we were like cavemen or something, just thinking about going back to that time, you wouldn't fucking care who we had. You could probably find someone who's like legless who could still find company and have socialise. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. In the end, it's like, life is just something you either have or you don't. And that's it. There's no point digging into it. It's why it's so fucking ridiculous. And maybe we need to dig into things that are harmful again. Paraphilias, whatever it is, bestiality, sort of things. But that's a different topic entirely. I'm not really talking about that, I'm talking about normal relationships that we have. Not even just attractiveness or preference. Yeah, I don't know what to add, but that's about it, I think. So, yeah, I'll move on now. So I don't talk about Iron Maiden much, given them still listening to like, everything there is. But there is one song that particularly takes my interest because of how strong the message is, and weirdly enough, still kind of relevant, even though it's not about this. But yeah, the song is Fear is the Key. It's a really fucking heavy song, given what it's about. And I have to do a bit of research on this to make sure I got the definition of it right, because, well, say definition, but you know, the meaning of the song. And yeah, it is kind of ahead of its time. It's actually kind of crazy. But it's just like, if someone modern was these days making a song about misinformation around COVID, like they would have a fucking field day making it, because yeah, it's kind of like there's the information out there, it's easy to do, and also most of it, the misinformation is like conspiracy. But what I Maiden song here feels basically what it does is it's about the AIDS and HIV epidemic or pandemic. I don't know what you call it. It's epidemic, and all the misinformation around it. And I didn't have it click at first. I looked at the comments because I was kind of confused what this was about. I used and abused in bed. So I thought, what does that even mean? Then going to the comments, it was about when Freddie Mercury died and how the HIV panic started and stuff because of celebrities dying, and nobody really cared because they thought it was just restricted to, well, apparently Bruce's was because I looked this up as well, homosexuals and drug takers. But see, that's not the case, and Bruce was well aware of that, which is pretty insane to think about. Because even though I obviously lived past that, I'd say lived, but I was in my dad's testicles. Weird comment, but sure. But yeah, obviously I won't remember that. So it's very interesting that, even given that this is a time that it sort of all took place and all this shit went down, it's pretty crazy. It's literally a call out of society's bullshit, and also I think nowadays we look back on it with shame because we should have known better back then. And even then, I got recommended a YouTube short today that was very inspiring. It was about Princess Diana shaking hands with HIV patients, HIV and AIDS patients, when the misinformation was literally, oh, you can't do that because any sort of contact will kill you. Like, what? It's so fucking terrible. And you know, my knowledge on this, by the way, is probably more expansive than the people back then. From what I understand, HIV and AIDS is literally contracted through, I think germs, and well, germs is in where you have it on your body, the person who has it, and through a bloodstream. So that's where it really happens, and that's why there's a lot of prevention measures there today, believe it or not. I think that's what it is anyway. That's why there's condoms, that's why people who take the safest route. But that's how it's contracted. It's like whenever your flesh is actually exposed to this virus, that's when it happens. Yeah, seemingly people didn't know that back then, so it's not like they could, shake hands with someone because they literally thought they were carrying like the deadliest fucking virus in the world. It's also really sad to think about. That was a situation that people were put in. It just, yeah, it really sucks. But I like this song because it's quite ahead of its time, I think. It's quite ironic, really, that people still have that same response. It's like, nowadays, there was so much misinformation about COVID. I remember when people were saying to drink, like, because, like, oh, what was it? It's a horse tranquilizer, that was it, wasn't it? It's like Joe Rogan recommended that, I think. And that's the thing. It's what people say that isn't actually properly researched or even defined that becomes the evidence, and it's like, God's sake. It's so fucking dumb. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say on this topic. I just really like the song. It has a sort of creepy vibe to it, but it's also kind of cool. I don't really know how to describe it exactly. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say on this, to be honest. It's just one of those tracks, one that I feel like is worthy of a mention, because it does sound different. Yeah, given that I'm on Fear of the Dark already, the album that I'm probably most interested in, it's quite interesting to have this on it. Of all things, I didn't really expect this. But it does make me wonder over how nice of a band Maiden really is. You know, weirdly enough, like, a bit of trivia about this. I knew back in the day when I was watching a Black Sabbath documentary, or so I think it's Black Sabbath actually, not Aussie. And they were talking about, or was it Iron Maiden? I don't know what it is actually now. Someone anyway. But they were talking about the I made it at some point and how they got their name. And apparently there was some other band called Iron Maiden before this Iron Maiden. So they had like a bunch of legal issues with using the name and eventually got it. But yeah, I don't know if that was a scumbag thing to do or not. But either way, it does make me wonder how the band is. Obviously there's like per member. There's also like issues with band members in every single band, but in terms of controversies, like, do Iron Maiden even have any? It genuinely makes me wonder. Although I did actually just hear like a really questionable song, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. For some reason, I'll mention this anyway, but I know someone who doesn't like it, and I was always curious why, because it didn't seem to make sense, and then I listened to it properly, and it kind of does, but kind of doesn't. It's just like a one lyric that I could feel that was wrong. It's really fucking creepy, but yeah. It's also the part about being on your knees and putting on lipstick and stuff. Yeah, it's very strange, that song. It's fun. It's definitely unhinged as other people put it. But I do like it as a song. It's not too bad. I definitely could listen to it again. Yeah, just felt like mentioning this really. Also, I never looked at the Fear of the Dark album cover. What the fuck? It's insane. It's like, not to sound offensive, but it's like AI slop, but actually good. Not to offend the artist is obviously very fucking talented. This is actually insane. It's like a goblin imp thing hanging out of a tree, but it's in the tree. Well, the goblin is the fucking tree. Damn, that's crazy. I felt like mentioning that. But yeah, that's the topic. I love this band so far. I love Iron Maiden. Turns out to be one of the best metal bands I've ever heard. It's certainly up there with Parkway Drive and stuff, and Silosis even. No doubt others, Judas Priest, and Saxon, yeah. I could definitely hear influences in some of the songs, I think. It's got some hard rock feels here and there, and also like ballads. Probably like Scorpions actually. Could probably hear a bit of that in Wasting Love. Anyway, I better move on. So yeah. Right, here's something that annoyed me enough to get out of bed and do this before going to sleep, because I need to get off my fucking mind. That Final Fantasy collab with Jolibee. I'm curious, what the fuck even is this place? Because I never heard of it. Jolibee is a Filipino chain of fast food restaurants owned by Jolibee Foods Corporation and serves as a company's flagship brand, established in 1978 by Tony Tan. I can't pronounce that. It's the Philippines' top fast food restaurant. It is among the world's fastest growing restaurant chains, having expanded international presence almost sixfold from 2014 to 2024. Yeah, that's interesting. There's also a UK one, which is curious. Didn't even realise I probably don't have one. But like, this is my issue with it, because I already know, looking at this, it's not going to have any vegan options, because it's stupid. What's like all these places are absolutely fucking brain dead when it comes to food choices. It's always the same thing. You never find anything new. There's never anything different. So like, what have we got here? Individual meals, chicken sandwich and chicken joy combo meal, whatever the fuck that is. Chicken joy and loaded fries, nothing new again. Chicken sandwich and spaghetti combo meal, nothing new again. And then just mixtures. So what the fuck even is a chicken joy? Crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside. Wait. Fucking Deep Rock Galactic references, didn't they? Gooey on the inside, crunchy on the outside, or something. I don't know. Could be wrong about that. But again, nothing special. Like, what the fuck is this spaghetti stuff as well? It's so weird, and then they've got buckets, like... It's the thing, they're trying to be KFC or something, and it's just not creative. Either, like... Again, we're talking about animal products, I'll go into that. But this is just not good. Spicy burger, double burger, what the fuck? It's just not fun. You know, I talked about Wimpy a while ago, and that had more creativity than this shit. A rice bowl just has chicken in it. Where's the fucking options that are not fucking meat? It's just so bad. Yon burger, classic. Also, this isn't even like Filipino food, I don't think. So it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. And the fries, like chicken fries, there's nothing vegetarian either, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. Because you're not even disclosing it. Fries, plain rice, that could be vegetarian, but why the fuck would people want that? That's just stupid. Peach mango pie, mango coconut sundae, chocolate coconut sundae, cookies cream sundae, sriracha mayonnaise, chili sauce, Asian ginger chili sauce, that's different. And then gravy. There's nothing unique there. Yeah, this is shit. It's nothing here. A lot of these things rather probably make at home, but even then, other than the lack of options, it's also just shit to collab with yet another chain. Because as far as we know, it's still going to have the issues that KFC has, which is low quality foods, really shit things like, you know, welfare problems, and also it's just wrong to kill animals in general. It's just objectively wrong. So it's already a bad collab to begin with. Yeah, like, I'm so fucking fed up with that sort of shit. See way too much of it in general, and even then we're going back to something like Genshin Impact, where they did a collab with KFC for some reason, then started doing collabs with other companies, well, luckily smaller companies, but yeah, still bad. Yeah, as far as we know, like, I could actually look it up, like Jolibee full investigation, because there's no somebody who's done it, investigating coffee farm, that's not it. No, nothing related, so nobody's investigated it for some reason. Even though it probably should be at this point, because wherever they get their food from, you know, there's going to be some story. But yeah, it's probably going to be the same as KFC, knowing welfare standards and how much they want to quite quick get out. It's just shite. It's really bad. Yeah, what do I even say here? Trying to think, like, it's a bad idea to. This is the other thing. I don't like when companies collab with something that's very quote unquote perishable. I think it's fucking annoying. Because it's very, like, temporary. For some reason they're doing merch with this as well. Fun Fancy. So I don't even know why they're doing that. They're doing fucking merch with this? Like, what? It's like a Genshin Impact did McDonald's merch, but yeah, like, it makes no sense. Because it's just fucking dumb. There's no joy in this, there's nothing fun. And it's nothing you can remember really, like, oh, I went there for a meal once, I got this, but you do that with McDonald's, and even then, it's not the best thing either. Yeah, just really fucking annoying. They could have done a better job with this, but holy crap, they really fumbled it. I see that people are not like overly hyped about it, and also they're just not really paying attention to it either, because nobody's fucking heard of this chain before. I've never heard of it, which really shows. Because yeah, sometimes the people you watch are just fucking meat obsessed. They're almost like, what the fuck else? Like, I haven't even heard of it. It's just nuts, really. It's not even necessarily about popularity. Like, if they did it for something local, it's more respectable and commendable, because at least then it's someone smaller, it's not a corporation. But no, they paired with a corporation, and yeah, it's not even like a small chain, and I don't even know that small chains exist. I've been to a few, and they're probably more decent food than the big chains. You know, comparing like a pizza place, for example, to a Domino's, and a local pizza place is much better than a Domino's, both in price and quality, and quantity as well. Might as well add that. It's fucking ridiculous, and that's what I mean by collabs being really bad. Hence why you don't do perishables, and instead you should go with something like merch, which is like fangame. And also, speaking of which, I fucking hate the lack of merch for Final Fantasy XIV anyway. It's already a bad thing as it is. But the lack of merch makes it feel real shitty. Yeah, I'm not fucking joking on that. Yeah, it's really fucking terrible. I don't have anything else to add. I might make a Reddit post, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll just call it out really and just do some activism. Just so fucking tired at the moment. Just depressed as well and burnt out. And shit like this doesn't really help. It just stresses me the fuck out. But again, I have to say that I actually laugh at people who do this and commodify animals, because they're essentially wreaking hell upon everyone else, defending paedophiles and rapists, because that's what these industries do. They're all linked. Corporations are linked to Epstein as well. It's really fucking screwed up. A lot of things are, to be fair, but again, these things, it will come from the place of exploitation, and that's what you support. So yeah, go fuck yourselves, essentially. But anyway, let's move on. Well, this is the level of corruption that's also going to cause a January 6th in the UK. Zara Sultana has been suspended for calling out the truth, which is that Keir Starmer is a fucking liar. I just watched this clip from Navarra Media, and I don't know who this fucking guy is. They seem to have this middleman in Parliament. I don't know who exactly the role is or what it is for it. Yeah, it doesn't sound like he has a single fucking GCSE, which is just really fucking dumb. Like, why do we have people like this in power? Positions of power. He's obviously using it incorrectly here as well. Basically, what happened is Zara called out the inherent bullshit that Keir Starmer is obviously doing in this country, which is lying and absolutely demolishing it. Like, literally destroying the country. I'm not even joking with that. He is. There's no exaggeration, and I'd have issues if it were. But he is literally destroying it. He is perpetuating the immigration crisis, he's perpetuating wars, he's doing so many evil things that it genuinely baffles me that anyone could look at this and think, yeah, it's justified. But it's not. The guy's fucking evil. He's corrupt. So, yeah, he deserves to be called out, because he is inherently doing harm to the world, to the country. I don't really get why, like, again, this is being punished. Why is Zara being fucking suspended for something that is absolutely justified? It doesn't make any sense. Again, it's like the level of corruption that we're seeing here. It obviously comes in different forms, but this is ridiculous. It's so bad. And then someone in the comments here puts it, hiring a predator is fine saying a liar is not fine. Yeah, literally the double standard. Like they're just like having predators in here and fucking liars as well. Yeah, the fact this middle guy, whoever the fuck he is just again sounding so unintelligent about this. It's just nonsense. And also, this also proves another point. Because it also shows that there's like a bias against women as well to an extent. Because immediately everyone in there, without hesitation, was like, when they did the vote, pretty much everyone said aye. I'm pretty sure there were like Lib Dems and stuff on there, I could be wrong. You don't really see the image, but fuck me. How annoying is this? On the bright side, at least this could be a wake-up call for some people, but at the same time, it's kind of like more corruption. And again, we're looking at another January 6th. I think it's January 6th, I could have got that wrong. We're looking at another one of those situations possibly happening in the UK, either from, again, the bigotry or the truth. There's only two ways that it can go with this, in this current climate. Oh my fucking god, this is annoying. And honestly, it's only a matter of time before someone looks at this guy's profile, whoever this guy is that essentially suspended her, and finds out that he's actually in bed with Keir Starmer. It's just fucking insane. Yeah, this is UK, very much. Anyway, I better move on, because I do have things to do. So yeah. I know that I'm going to be in a controversial position here. And I've seen it quite a few times now, but people are talking about how they would essentially celebrate Donald Trump's death if it does happen. That's again an if. We don't know when. To be honest, I think a lot of people just want it sooner. But I was just thinking, what's the point? Why celebrate this? It's kind of what he wants as well. It's just a weird thing. The fucking douchebag is who wants to be remembered as a war criminal and some rich billionaire. Like, that's it. And probably even like the rapist and paedophile charges. Like, he doesn't fucking care. That much is obvious. And if he did care, saying all these things would have done something. You know, the fact that there are like veterans being arrested for protesting the war is not enough proof that what people are doing is working. So people do need to really get underneath his skin to actually have some more lasting effect. And I think when it comes to, again, the time of his passing, whenever that may be again, I think there's still a lot of pieces to be picked up after, which really isn't the time for celebration in my opinion. Because there's still a lot to repair, a lot to recover. For example, you need to get Israel to withdraw, you need to get, well, from everything they do, just to be specific, not just Iran, but also Gaza, also strikes and stuff. But you also need to just fix the US economy as well, and other economies. So, yeah, there are so many evil things going on that you can't ignore these issues. And as much as people probably want to whip out the wine or beer or whatever, the moment that he does disappear, it's not going to be beneficial when the world is currently struggling as it is, and will struggle for months after probably. Admittedly, probably like an hour or a few celebration probably won't hurt, but days, weeks, that's going to harm people, I think. And that's because we need to actually focus on helping each other out, especially in a difficult time. And also there's going to be uncertainty around it. So, like, what happens when a president dies? Like, do they get replaced by a vice president, or is there someone else that could take a place, or is there like an emergency election or something? Like, I don't even know what fucking happens. So it just gets really murky, even when that does happen. So it's even hard to sort of discuss where we go from there. So yeah, I felt like mentioning this really, because I don't really feel like giving a cunt like this the win who wants, and that's really saying something. I don't think people actually think it through when they look at something like this. Also, it's easy to play on emotions. That's because that's what they're doing. It's psychological warfare. I don't know why people haven't noticed this. I've called it out a few times now, I think. But either way, yeah, better move on because, yeah, got stuff to do. More important things that don't involve money. There's something I'm surprised it doesn't get discussed, but it ties in every fucking thing we know about politics and things in general. It really worries me, and I've been thinking about this because of being up to date with, well, mostly up to date with the war. There's wars rather that's going on, and it really concerns me because some of the things we're seeing are just worrying, sort of, not sure if you call them revelations, but worrying as a general concept. And this triggered all of thought in me all the way back. What was it? The last time I looked into this, so probably last year in around August or something, maybe November. But I was thinking about this because of a thing about, I think it was Zelensky using basically AI to kill Russians, which is essentially T-1000 for anyone unaware, basically Terminator. But yeah, this is proof that we're really in the point of no return, and this is something that I realised back then, but it's quite scary to think about because the point of no return implies that there is no returning from this. Once it's out there, it's there. Same with how drones became the technology. You know, we had like drones before that, I believe. I only remember that because of I think it was like Battlefield games with enough. I don't know if they predicted it or if that was actually based on things. I don't know, I had to guess at some point or another it's related in a way. And that's probably why. But yeah, drone warfare became a big thing, and that's also the point of no return. It is worrying because that does mean that we have that issue where now it seems like we're so fucked in terms of technology and things that can happen that we just can't predict it. And I did make a prediction back then when I said about these like war machines and stuff, is that we'd see a normal daily occurrence where, as a crime, people would just use drones themselves, because now it's out there in the public, it's in the eye. People are going to misuse it for terrible purposes. And this is why we needed some sort of, well, intervention back then. We needed international law to essentially do its thing and arrest people misusing it. Hence something like Israel as well, who use the drones for committing war crimes. And even though many countries agree it's a war crime and they want Netanyahu arrested, nobody does it. Nobody's fucking arresting him. Like, what the fuck is going on? You need a bunch of countries to come together to go over there, drag him out from this fucking place where he's hiding, and arrest him, put him on trial. And that's not going to fucking spark any wars. If anything, it's going to get people thinking. And that's a good thing. But no, they've let it happen. And now we're paying the consequence, because we're now in a fucking future where they could get away with whatever they want. They could get away with torturing innocent civilians in a war they didn't want anything to do with fucking fumes that they can't even get rid of. Are you kidding me? This is what unchecked power goes. What even happens with it? I don't even know how to fucking word it. It's just a fucking disgrace, and the UN and any other country is basically deciding not to intervene is complicit in this. As I've said before, they're all complicit in this shite. I don't know what the fuck is going on, really. It's obviously an injustice. But yeah, even with recent things like apparently Ukraine taking over previously Russian occupied territory of theirs, with entirely remote control equipment. So, drones and vehicles, so even like drones. But it's kind of nuts because we're investing all this money into these killing machines, which obviously I don't agree with. But it's an unnecessary thing, and this is again the point of no return. This is what happens when no power comes together and lets things happen. You let AI get out of control like this, you let technology get out of control like this. Absolutely nobody has intervened, and that demonstrates bigger issues here. It demonstrates a misuse of power, which in itself, silence is violence, as people have been saying. So yeah, it is a blatant mistreatment of it, just by virtue of not using it to stop these things from happening. Again, then war criminals run rampant, doesn't help that. So these things just make things fucking complicated. And that's why we have these problems. Am I missing something? Or is this just absolute nonsense? It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, this is what happens when, again, power goes unchecked. It's why it's happening in the US, it's why it's happening in so many places around the world. It's why it probably happened in Nepal as well, when there was originally an overthrowing. I'm not sure where it's at now, I haven't really looked into it for a while. But that's what's going to happen. And as I'm predicting, there's going to be like a January 6th sort of thing going on, where we might even see people get so fed up with their governments doing inaction, they take it over, and they send the military to do these things that they refuse to do. That's definitely going to happen in the future. The people are tired of this, they don't care about the fucking economy. They want security. Because that's what's most important in the end. When your country is dragged into a war you didn't want to be in, that's pushing it. The US is only waiting for something like this to happen. I know there's like a strike happening on the 1st of May, I think it's across the world as well. But it's to like disrupt the economy and basically bring attention to the fact that these things happening around the world are ridiculous. They shouldn't be happening. You've got people saying that they won't fucking do anything. And they may not do anything. But something has to be done. Because obviously we're working our arse off for nothing. I'm not going to say I don't work, but other people working their arse off for nothing, for barely any pay, for barely any security as well. But what do you fucking expect? Like, you don't want them to be working for you because, well, you do want them, but they don't want to work for you. And that's the difference. That's where there's real issues here. And I find everything that's happening right now just disgusting. It genuinely doesn't make any sense. And I just can't understand why, again, things have been so unchecked and being allowed to become so unhinged as well. It's so bizarre. It almost feels like a fever dream sometimes with how incompetent it is. It almost feels like a comedy sketch as well, like I should go without saying. But I do find that. I find that everything's so ridiculous now. A comedy sketch makes almost as much sense as this, as what we're seeing right now. The government gone rogue and nobody doing anything. Hilarious. And then that's actually because they are corrupt. A comedy sketch will probably be funnier, but even then, this isn't funny because it is our lives on the line. It is people's security and food security, and even like travel security as well. Let's not forget, travel itself is the basic right and the basic need for a lot of people. And if you're not going to accommodate something like, I don't know, a sort of a, I was trying to think of the name, bicycle. Yeah, I think it's bicycle. For some reason I forgot the name. If you're not going to accommodate that, then what are we supposed to fucking do? How are we supposed to travel without the use of fuel? Or even public transportation, which no doubt will cost money because of the fuel. It's all these sort of questions, and again, insecurities keep coming back to this. So yeah, don't really know what else to add, to be honest. It's quite obvious, really, that something needs to change and something needs to be done before it's too late. Amidst one of the most insecure points in our history. I mean, they probably had it worse, but again, I just can't fathom how we even got to this point again. History repeating itself. In the World Wars, nobody was sure who was going to be bombed, when or where. And now it's like, we don't even know who's going to be drone hit with a missile struck. This war was obviously changed with technological advances, and I imagine people didn't even want their technology to be like this, to be used in this way. No doubt the inventor of the drone probably didn't want this. They don't even... I'm trying to think of who else invented war. Yeah, again, blatant misuse and misuse of power. Like Putin should have been arrested the moment he started the war. It's just fucking absurd, and even then Israel should have been prosecuted the moment they started the genocide. It's just so ridiculous. I don't know what to add, but that's about it, so I'll move on. So I need to bring up the dead horse again with my necromancy, because this is a topic that kind of bothers me about gaming in general, and just why I lose trust with players and understanding as well. And it's controversial because people make it controversial when it really is kind of an irrefutable point, in the sense that it exists, it happens, and there's not much else to say around it. I'll probably butcher that explanation, but I'll explain further as I will. So, I've seen yet again another post about Final Fantasy XIV supposedly having no content. Essentially there being a drought for players, and I strongly disagree. The reason is there is no such thing. There is no content drought. In the year or plus I've been playing this, so literally over a year now, just about, I've found no shortage of content at all. And it really shows that this game is full of stuff, and even though it's mainly grinds, there are still things to do that aren't exactly grinds. Like, even though they are, again, Eureka, for example, grind still, but you do something. Posture, shit, but it had something. And even Occult Crescent, not fun, but it had something, again. And then I go through like a list of things and what I enjoyed and what I didn't, and then I realised, well, actually, at some point there is truth to both sides. There is both limitless content, but there is also limited content. I'll explain. It varies from player to player. It's just the nature of subjectivity, as usual, and it usually comes down to preference of all things. So, when a player says they are actually finding no content to do in the game, I don't think they're lying, but I don't think they're also being that truthful. And the reason I say that is because, in reality, the game is already chock full of shit, and it really depends on what you do. Because even in Final Fantasy XIV here, I picked the content I wanted to do. and I've been doing that for the last year. For example, I've been to the grinds like S ranks and the sugar glider mount. I've done those. Well, S ranks for Dawn Trail, I mean. But I've also done other things like relic weapon grinds, and there is really limitless content if you know what to look for and what to do. But obviously players have a preference, and I even have that myself. For example, I don't like cosmic exploration, I fucking hate it. First time I ever tried it, it was miserable. And there's also extreme and savage content, which I put off for a long time. Well, endgame anyway, I don't want to do because of the unsynced ones. And the unsynced ones were hard enough as is. So that's put me off even trying the endgame stuff. So again, I'm limiting my content here. It's not to say I won't come and try it again or even try it for the first time, but it is to say that we limit ourselves in this content. And this is kind of why I wanted to make a video essay on this rather than a podcast segment. It depends. If people really want one, I could try. I ain't really got the time, depending on what goes on, obviously. Got things to do. Also got to make like a Christmas quiz for family. So I'm planning on celebrating Christmas a bit, or, well, not really celebrating, but just enjoying it by making a fun quiz. But yeah, it's like a thing I try to do. Not really to get social approval, but just to have fun. Anyway, where I was going with this is, how do you make a game that actually has limitless content for a player who limits themselves? This really came into realization with something like the old games I used to play, like Left 4 Dead 2, Team Fortress 2 and Garry's Mods, albeit Valve games, but non-Valve games include Minecraft, oh god, I can't remember what other ones. Like, technically, even single player games are limitless. Just depends on what you play. I know Saints Row the Third I used to really like, and Saints Row 4 was fun. So another one, like in multiplayer games. But there's a difference between what these do, and I found this really interesting, because the difference is these games are actually limited, but they have one thing that is completely different about them, and that is player creation. What do I mean by that? Player creation is obviously what it sounds like. It's content created by the player, and that is done through different means. So you can even do it in games where it doesn't have it. Like, for example, you could do it in probably Counter-Strike or Go. You set up a custom rule set or something that players abide by. Yeah, I can't fucking speak. Abide by. There we go. That's embarrassing. But players abide by those rules and they play it for fun. That's where we get a distinction, and where we start to see things essentially come together. That's what a player created bit of content is, and admittedly it requires a bit of effort because someone needs to arrange it and make it work, but you know, it's kind of up to the player whether they do it or not, or even engage in it. So that becomes its own thing. So it really varies, and yeah, it depends on what the player wants, as I said. But let's look at an example now of good player content, generated content, where we'll go into two examples. This first, which is the modded one. The modded example was probably something like Left 4 Dead 2 and TF2 and also Garry's Mods. Well, actually Garry's Mods, no, I won't count that. It does have it, but it's not the big thing, I don't think. But TF2 and Left 4 Dead 2 had some very fun custom modes, and those are modded. That's the first big thing, and when a game can be modded, especially multiplayer, sometimes single player, you can find content in it that you wouldn't find in any other game, which is where it's kind of important to even notice that, to even engage in it. And even in a game like Saints Row the Third, which I mentioned, there's some great modding scenes. In fact, I believe, anyway, I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure, pretty sure one of the moderators for the modding communities actually became a developer. So that was interesting. He might have even been a mod creator himself. Idle Ninja, for anyone wondering. I only noticed it when I was looking into the Saints Row post stuff, but anyway. Yeah, but that's an example of modded, and after the two, you've got custom verses, you've got Fort Survival, which is a rare one. You've got so many different types of modes, like mutations and custom realisms. You've even got, obviously, the modding aspect of it with the workshop as well, which we didn't have until later, by the way. So I used to play it unmodded. But the mods can make it really interesting. You can turn every zombie into Teletubbies, which was great. Turn every zombie into, Simpsons characters or something like that. There's so many different ways you can make it to your preference and make it fun, which is really important. That makes a game, really, because that's what it takes. So, sorry, got a cough. Yeah, but TF2, in a weird case, it doesn't allow much modding unless you're on a specific server. You get like custom skins and stuff and textures, but you do really need to be careful with that as well, because it only works on custom servers, well, community servers. But then TF2 had the gimmick, or really nice aspect of it, where players can make their own game modes, well, modded, at least modded game modes. But believe it or not, the Saxton Hale game that's in the game now is inspired by versus Saxton Hale. It's actually an entire game mode, like one boss versus a ton of players, and it's quite fun. There are funny creations in there. You had like Vagina, you had this sniper, I can't remember what the sniper one was. It's a very weird one, and like Demo Pan, you had so many different types. You even had Game Newell was one, you had the Headless Horseman. There's so many interesting ones on that, and it's a shame they didn't add more, because it would have really been great. At least I don't think they've added more. I haven't played TF2 in a while. But that's a modded aspect. It's fun. They had like prop hunt. They had like zombie survivals. I think they even added that as a game mode. Zombie infestation wasn't that great though. And they even added. No, they didn't add. But people made. What's the other one? Death Run, Surf. Surf was one of my favourites before they took down all the servers. Not Valve, but server creators themselves. So those really make the game. And that's an aspect where it's like sort of modded. But then you've got the ones where it's actually in control of the player, and these are rarer to come across, but usually these are things like, I guess, sandboxes like Gary's Mod, which is almost a perfect example of this, what I'm talking about. Where you can build things for fun and post them and publish them. And those become things that either are popular or not. It really depends. But it is special for that reason. And then in another example you have Minecraft, which is not similar to Gary's Mods, it's way different. But you have that customization and stuff, and also TF2 has customization too. So you can do things however you want. Like Minecraft being a sandbox and stuff. It's just really interesting to look at it and what these things do differently to other games. And yeah, that's what makes them somewhat special. And moving forward into the future, you have Overwatch, which was barely customizable, for Overwatch 1 to be clear, until they added a custom server mode where you can actually code things into it. One of my favourite customizations within the mods being the Overwatch Wear mod, which basically takes inspiration from WarioWare. Is really fucking fun. There's also other modes like boss modes, like a bit like Saxton Hale. There's also really fun like overtuned class wars, so you had like infinite abilities versus one boss. You had all sorts. You had aim practice as well, which is often quite interesting. There's so many interesting aspects to it. Even that was quite limited, and later on I started playing other games like World of Warcraft. Even though it wasn't customizable, it had add-ons. Some useful, some not. Mainly quality of life. So doesn't really count. But you had the aspect of doing something with a guild or players, and that could generate content. You could do like a raid night for, I don't know, Wrath of the Lich King, for example, just going through that for some reason. You know, you could technically do it unsynced back in the day. But you had that sort of aspect, and you also had other things. It's, again, not the best example, just because it's really hard to find player content in this. You could have like transport competitions, though. I think that was a thing. Remember, well, sadly, the cancelled Asmongold used to have it. But yeah, those are somewhat fun. Was it Asmongold? Might have been Preach, actually. I can't remember who. Maybe both. Yeah. Then trying to think of another game. Like Genshin Impact and maybe not Honkai Star Rail. Genshin Impact used to have some aspect of player customization and game modes. It was like the level designer events that they had, which sadly keep going away because they're stupid. They don't archive the events. But those had some fun aspects. You had many different things. I think they added a permanent one eventually, after I quit. And they added some really funny ones. Like they had simulators for different characters. You had story modes for them, which are goofy and stuff. But yeah, those really were special, it seems. And that adds content. And then my favourite example of this, which again is a modded case, is probably Deep Rock Galactic. Because the player customization on top of the fact you can mod it really adds stuff. And it really gets you thinking, because I mainly play modded Deep Rock Galactic. I play it with more players as a primary thing, and then more objectives may be fun, even custom swarms. They make it fun. And that really changes things. It makes it a lot fucking better. That's why I sort of lean towards it as one of my favourite games overall. Because it is genuinely fun. It's just literally the definition of fun. And you've got the players who are so unhinged sometimes. You just don't know what they're going to do next. It's actually it is actually just a goofy game. That's what's so special about it. And mods make it even more interesting. And yeah, that creates content too, because you also have something like custom difficulty, custom hazards. You even have mods that overhaul it, and I believe the developers actually played it once. Live streamed it. I remember going into a stream once and seeing it, and I was like, the fuck is this? I've never seen this before. And it turns out it's a mod. It's like, wow. These developers are fucking amazing. Yeah, you never see them complimenting these mods. So it's very interesting to see that. But it really does add stuff to the game. And it keeps players engaged. And where Final Fantasy XIV comes into this, I guess, is it has player-generated content in terms of like customization and events that you can do. And yeah, it really depends. Also, you've got plenty of things going on in the game that you can have player choice too. But it does need more, in my opinion. So, whilst housing system is okay, it's not great, it could be improved. And a lot of the content as well could be more customizable, I think, to be more suitable. I do think it is lacking in areas. But yeah, I don't really know what else to add, but as I said, think about the player generated content. It is important. You do need it to make it work, in a sense. And to make it more enjoyable. So yeah, I better move on. I don't know what the fuck that noise was. People can't get quiet here for some reason. It's pretty stupid. Let's move on. So people have probably already seen at this point the videos of Mayor Mamdani and Barack Obama singing Wheels on the Bus to some, I think, kindergarten kids. Was it junior school? I don't know actually, I'm not too familiar with obviously American stuff. I think we'd call it. No, nursery is a different thing, isn't it? I have no idea. But yeah, but I imagine people have varied responses to this based on also what their position is. So if they're like pro-Trump, they're going to have something to say, that's for sure. Probably going to call it propaganda and these big words that they don't actually know. It's just insane to me. Also, don't know, I can't even comprehend why people would do that anyway, to use big words they don't understand. But yeah, weirdly enough, I imagine people will call it propaganda, and I want to respond to that with my very well thought out response. Basically, let's put it side by side with your quote unquote heroes and your, well, president as it currently stands. And at the moment there's Trump. So put them side by side. Look at the popular videos of Trump, and then look at the popular videos here of obviously Madonna and Barack Obama, this video specifically. How good is the propaganda on Trump's side? Nope. That is not inspiring at all. That is not human. So I don't know what the fuck people are on about if they are saying this. About this being somehow a publicity stunt or propaganda when it's just as bad for obviously Trump when he's doing it. It's fucking ridiculous, and imagine him doing this. Like, you can't. It's just fucking impossible. He's such a cunt that he just doesn't think that way. He doesn't even think he could probably do it either. He's already said he's going to hell, so he already knows where he stands with that. Already pretty much in bed with Satan, which, yeah, technically he was. Let's think of South Park. I was like, wait a minute, he is. But yeah, I don't know, maybe that's where he got his inspiration from. Who knows? But yeah, I really don't think it's good that we're in a world now where even the most basic human things that someone can do, again, Obama and Madonna doing this, it seems more human than anything else we've seen in the last, year or two. There's constant fucking suffering and bullshit, and I've seen many good things about Madonna, it has to be said. Like, so many different things. And I think I've only ever seen like one bad thing, I can't remember what it was, but he's done essentially a good amount of work, at least in inspiring hope of people. And whilst we're also yet to see results, technically speaking, I do think they are possible. They are within sight. And, we're waiting for people in the UK to obviously look at this and think, oh, we need someone in the UK that does that. We do. It's called Zach Polanski. And it's our only option to, as voting the Green Party, I mean, the only option to actually survive here. To have a shot of the future. And it's the same way that I say New York having Mondani is probably the future as well. Yeah, I just felt like responding to this, really. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't know. There's something going on there. I don't know. People will be saying shit about this, like conspiracy theories as well, and some might even say it's AI. I struggle to see that because it's like many different angles and stuff. It's not as fixed as an AI video. Yeah, I think that's all I've got to say there. So yeah, let's move on. So I mentioned it briefly in my funny moments video, which might come out after this, but before. And it's an idea that's so fucking good. I'm surprised it hasn't been done yet. So, I know that people sort of want there to be a sort of Pokemon game where it's not obviously about battling, it's about 3D slice of life stuff. And while that may not appeal to everyone, it very well might in the idea I have. Basically Pokemon VR, but Nintendogs. So you have all the elements of like looking after and having adorable, obviously animals, but Pokemon in this case. And you also have the VR element, so you're seeing them in a way that's like 3D and in front of you. Like, what the fuck? That'd be perfect. You could look after, obviously, the Pikachu evolutions, the evolutions, my favourite. Vulpix, like everything Pokemon, and even go bizarre ways like Wailord and something like Garchomp and Tyranitar. Like, go these different routes and see how fun it would be. You know, even Gengar. Fuck's sake, let's have Gengar on there. I think it would be such a good idea because it would be different to every other Pokemon, and it'd also be quite meaningful as well. And as long as they don't do it like a Pokemon puzzle game, which they've tried and failed and also copied. Yeah, something they did. I still haven't forgotten. It could be done really well. You know, without obviously like daily incentives and mobile slop. I think it would just do well if it was a VR game. I think it's the only way it could do well, to be honest. Is if you just import the 3D models, it's only doing like half the job. But you want to make them detailed, you want to make them feel alive and fluffy, maybe in cases where they're fluffy. And even scaly for the other ones. So I'll see you have like a bunch of cat type Pokemon as well. I'll see you'd have to select a few, because yeah, it'd probably be limited running a Pokemon company. But to be fair, it might be easy on resources anyway. So you never know. Yeah, I'd be really curious to see if anyone even attempts this. So maybe not Nintendo or Pokemon Co. or even Niantic, or they're scummy. But maybe just a fan. As a fan trying it out. Trying to explore the aspect that the Pokemon series can be this. It can be wholesome and, you know, slice of life. Like the way it's sort of portrayed in the anime. It's quite interesting. But yeah, I'd love to do some of the things they do in the anime, like, I don't know, maybe Arcanine's gotten dirty again. There's fucking mud everywhere. And you take Arcanine for a shower. And maybe you have to dodge the fucking fire attacks, because Arcanine really doesn't like water. That'll be fucking good. I can see that doing really well. You can make it really fun depending on what you do, obviously. And again, having like little details too, like I don't know, I swear one of the things I learned about Leafeon was Leafeon eats through photosynthesis, so essentially when you're serving food, you could just put Leafeon near the window where the sunlight is to feed Leafeon instead. Damn. Honestly, I hope that becomes an idea because it's just too good to let up. Like, holy crap. It is pretty insane. So, yeah. I really just wanted to mention that because it feels like a good idea and really is a missed opportunity to not do it. It's just crazy. And yeah, mainly it's obviously to break the formula where it's like not pocket Pokemon anymore, but pocket monsters. But I don't think anybody really cares. You don't need to have it be, again, in your pocket. It's just, it needs to be its own series. Pocket Monsters, the entire idea, you know, back then it used to be in your hands and in your pocket with like a Game Boy, but nowadays, you don't really need to. It could be on your phone, it could be through your VR headset, which was also a pocket device, technically speaking. As long as you store it well, put it in your backpack or something. It'll work with a VR headset that has its own storage and operating system. That's for sure. So yeah, I would genuinely look forward to that. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else it could be. It could probably do a battling system, but it'd have to be quite simplified, I think. But I don't know if it could be rather too flashy. Also limited to. There's a way to do it that. I'm trying to think of what you can also base it on. It's kind of hard to say. There's probably something that you can base it on that isn't obviously like Nintendo's. Because I only use that as an example. Well, I haven't played it to be fair. But there is certainly an aspect to it where that seems like it could be a good inspiration. A good thing to sort of take from it, in a way, an inspiration. So, yeah, don't know what to add. I'll try to walk tab as soon as I can to stop recording. Yeah, I would be very interested in that. So hopefully that becomes a reality one day. Have I been so stupid? Yeah, anyone remembers the tweet that Iran was going to get nuked? Well, it sort of makes sense now why that happened. And it seems to be that they're actually, like, obviously I've learned about betting platforms before, and I've seen a bunch of things around it and how corrupt they are. I've seen the Voidzilla video, I think, on this, and I think even shows have referenced it to, well, even just called it out, which, yeah, is definitely necessary. But it's quite obvious that with the BBC now, for some reason, of all times, making a claim that Trump is now, well, obviously has beaten insider trading, I think it's as obvious now that tweets probably mean more than we actually think they mean. As in, they are actually just insider trading. So he's making these tweets to basically rig what's happening, and when he says he's going to nuke Iran, well, you could probably guess where that's going. It's of course a fucking betting site, and then people are betting to see who's going to nuke who or what, and see whether it happens. But yeah, essentially it will be rigged basically in favour of whoever bets the highest on the winning side, and then obviously someone like Trump has the power to say, like, no, I'm not going to do this, but behind the scenes. And that's essentially where we are with that. And because of how merciless he's been as well, that's also going to cause problems. So not only is it like a situation where big oil is going to essentially profit from the war, it's also where you see here is betting sites, so there's also like a hand in that. So that's really the worrying reality we're in, and it's even at a point now where something as stupid as a negotiation is gonna have its own bet as well. So they're gonna see like what's being said or who says it or what happens. So it's many different things. It's quite worrying, really. Just the reality that this is what we're doing, essentially. Like, this is all essentially gambling sites, it's all stocks, all trading, it's all fucking money. Again. It is just insane. And so, there aren't really many solutions to the problem, I don't think, other than, again, some people kicking their arse into gear and stopping these things before they actually get worse. And as I've said before, peace is not an option, because in this violent world, the way everything is now, we don't have peace. We don't have a chance at it. Before, when it's like, oh yeah, we're just doing law issues in this country, and you know, it's still a problem obviously, but I'd argue it's less bad than a fucking war where people's lives are actually taken rather than, you know, stupid shit like things that don't work, like conversion therapy. Although it's harmful, yeah, might kill people, but it's still less severe than something like war, where war has big fucking consequences and resources put into it, and even ice, for example, is a far bigger issue. Not as big as war, but you know, it's still an issue regardless. So that's why we really need to do something about this. And yeah, what do I even say? It's really concerning that this is what's happening. And then an even crazier thing, obviously, specifically speaking about the UK, the Reform Party is just absolute nonsense as usual, and they're taking measures to try to win votes now of all times, even though the local elections are right around the corner. But even then, they're trying to make it sound like they're going for this, going for the working class parties and helping them, but they're not. And they're also saying stupid things like, "Oh, let's choose what countries are safe for immigrants." Like, when immigrants come here, I mean, they'll choose what countries of origin is safe. So, if they come from Israel, safe apparently. If they come from America, safe apparently. And even if they come from somewhere like, I'm trying to think actually. There's another one that's been involved, Russia, that's it. But they'll probably say they're safe as well to be here, but the problem is, the evidence doesn't favour them. But as far as I know, it's the same with Russia. Again, as far as I know, I could be wrong. Feel free to prove me wrong. These places are evil. Like, not everyone in the US is guilty, I know that. But we can't risk it. And when we're deciding who's safe, they're going to pick the unsafest fucking countries there are. And they're going to fuck themselves over. So, it doesn't help. Like, they bring anti-Semitism to already what is anti-Semitism in the UK. So when they're approving Israelis, who are primarily Jewish, by the way, they're literally just fucking bringing these people here to commit war crimes and terrorist attacks. Because we have the evidence that that's what they're doing. Whether it's IDF soldiers, whether it's just the general population. They don't like people of other religions at all. And that includes us atheists and even Christians. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, hell, they'll probably see a Buddhist statue and fucking defecate on it. That's what they'll do. That's what I mean. Like, this shit invites problems rather than stops them. So when people are also believing this fake truth about trying to protect the country and stop dangerous people from getting in, you don't do that with the country of fucking origin. Because again, the only ones that qualify for that are the three I mentioned. Everyone else is probably less risky, but still there. But yeah, it's dangerous to just decide, and it feeds into racism as well. So obviously we don't want a world like this, because it's gonna make things a whole lot worse. It's gonna create problems for everyone. It does sadden me a bit because, well, yeah, like, immigrants are what make the country. I don't know why people don't realise this. But it's so fucking dumb. But we know that immigrants have made this country what it is because of the cultures that we shared. So, UK won't be UK without kebabs, which are obviously, I think, Turkish or Greek. I can't remember which one it actually is. Maybe a bit of both, actually. And we've also got Indians, which are obviously Chinese. No, I mean Indian. And then you've got Chinese, which is obviously Chinese. And yeah, like, we have those cultures, and we have Thai food, which obviously comes from, I'm assuming, Thailand. I could be wrong about that. But we have different cultures, and even Italian. But we wouldn't have these if we blocked people from coming in. And yet, all these idiots thinking the country needs to be saved from these people, you're actively denying these people from coming in to do work and actually provide us with benefits. Again, like, one of the best things about multiculturalism is sharing the different cultures and ideas and stuff. Like, Christianity was shared with us through immigrants. I'm pretty sure about that. So it really is weird. And when people are saying it's always about Muslims and stuff, it's not. You people are really fucking idiotic that you think Muslims are the only people that have come to this country to spread a religion. When they're not. And also it's the internet as well. So you're immediately scapegoating innocent people for something that is not actually true. It's just so fucking weird. Yeah, I mean, I just felt like exposing this anyway. It's weird how we went on to a tangent now. But I have to mention it because I think I was sort of wrong about that. See, the tweet, yeah, there's no nuclear fucking thing happening. But yeah, it does reveal a lot about the insider trading, and people do bet a lot on some things that Trump says, it seems, which is really frustrating. Yeah, it's so fucking bad. I just don't know why bangs like haven't been banned yet. It's obviously bad for the world, obviously bad for everyone. It just makes no sense. Anyway, don't know what else to add, but yeah, that's it for the topic, so let's move on. This is a topic to go on the radar again. Penguin Zero was critical. I was looking at some compilations of unusual behaviours and stuff, like humans teleporting and whatnot, and UFOs somehow, and also cryptids. But yeah, this reminds me of a time that I used to look into this sort of stuff, and also sort of got panicked by it, to be honest, because myself being somewhat vulnerable, not entirely vulnerable, but still, I have anxiety, and that does play a role in how my mind works. And also OCD, I guess, but probably less of an impact here. But yeah, like, it's weird because I used to be into this sort of stuff, and even then, the critical thinking aspect really took me out of it, because these things are not, well, they're saying not usually real, but they're not real full stop. And the fact that people misuse it as well to, whether there is actually proof, but we don't know that, you know, it really doesn't help those situations. So now if we do see like a UFO, which by the way, they're not all fucking saucers, idiots, which everyone seems to think they are, then, you know, we've got problems, because the reality is, it's like not like that. You know, saucers are a thing that we've entirely made up for aliens, because it's like an unusual shape. It sort of defies aeronautics, I guess, as far as I'm aware anyway. And that's just why we've ended up with that. So it's always like, much like how we view aliens, it's always based on sort of a cultural thing. How we view them, it's usually like a green, skinny man. And that's what an alien is. But they aren't necessarily aliens, if they are real. So that issue again goes down to the westernised picture and just what we see. And again, it's not always like that. In fact, if there are aliens, I doubt they'd even look humanoid. That's the thing. And I've always had this theory too in my own head about how aliens are not actually, again, like anything we can imagine. As far as we know, they're already here. They're already in the air, they're already like nanobots, I guess, I suppose, on a quantum level. So yeah, I just do not believe the idea that aliens are what they seem to be based on what Westerners think they look like. I do not believe such a thing even exists. So what the fuck's going on in this game? But yeah, with something like that, it's often disprovable. So when there is like a saucer in the air, apparently it could be a weather balloon, it could be something that's deflated, and obviously with how you see things over a distance, like clouds for example, clouds are not actually like that ideal image where they're, I don't know how to explain it, but they're not like I'm trying to think of a way to explain it. And they're not often that 3D, they're often just very flat even when they're above you. And even then, those strange shapes are just a result of layering, so yeah, your perception does change on that, I guess. But then what else is there? I can't really think with aliens actually. But yeah, again, it's like stupid. And sometimes it can be just pranks now, especially with drones and drone technology. Well, it's very much a thing, and it's very worrying. It is a thing as well. So yeah, it's just very strange either way. And what else? I'm pretty sure there's something else. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about other conspiracies. So yeah, the thing I wanted to mention is the things about teleportation and what I find interesting about these, because again, it's a conspiracy. People think teleportation exists and also time travel, but there's often explanations. Reminds me of that picture of the time traveller, and it's actually a case where it's not actually time travel, but rather someone who, well, in that day and age, the 60s or whatever it was, actually had that as an outfit. You know, they went to a ball game and they wore that. It was actually quite common. They look like they're from the 2000s, but they're actually from like 1960 or something. And yeah, stuff like that just is always disprovable anyway. And even though there are things like in for example, I think Greek mythology is they invented toilets before anyone else. Was it Romans? Is one of them. Even then, it's often explained by different aspects. So yeah, something like the toilet probably explainable by how we observe rivers and river flow. That's probably what happens there. And then we need to look at something like teleportation, where people make the correlation that because people appear out of thin air, that it is therefore teleportation. That's not how it works at all. In fact, anything with a camera is bound to have a technical issue. Because believe it or not, sometimes the lens can be damaged, sometimes there's issues around how it captures things, like the flickering and whatnot. It really varies. There are different reasons why this happens. So it can't be like dumbed down to that. It can't be dumbed down to, oh, it's teleportation. It's not. And in the most critical video, there was one where a lady disappeared behind someone who was walking in a camera interview or whatever. And that's explainable by the fact that she has hair, and as Charlie pointed out as well. But you can see the hair, I mean, when she's walking behind the other person. So again, it's like, all this shit is just correlation. It's something people made up in their heads. It doesn't necessarily exist. So yeah, there's always that with this sort of topic. And it's like quite unhealthy when people have this idea that something like this has to exist because it does for them or something. But it gets even weirder with stuff like in the video again, technical issues. It's like the person who appeared in front of a car may not even be there to begin with, because it's edited. That's the thing, whenever it's digital footage, it has a chance to be edited. That just goes without saying. So I don't know where people get the idea that this is somehow real again, because it's obviously not edited footage, but it is edited footage. And you can see it sometimes frame by frame. You see it with even the cryptid stuff. But even then, the technical error can explain cryptids. So the lighting, for example, explains some things. So when you have black and white or darkness, there can be an issue of exposure, and that exposure means that whatever's captured in the footage can often not appear as it seems and be completely different than what it seems. So yeah, that blends in. And also, having had a near-death experience with enough with a blending in issue with my own sight, yeah, this actually happened to me as a kid, crossing the road, looked both ways, nothing there, then heard a beep and turned. It's like, oh, the fuck? There's a car there. When did that get it? I was like a few feet away from it, but what the fuck? They literally thought it to stop and complained at me, and I didn't even see it. It's like, what the hell? This is like a thing that can happen, by the way. And the way that it was explained to me by someone for the Ozcast called Ralphs, so I mentioned it once in a chat a long time ago, it's probably that the colour created some sort of illusion, because the car was grey, and the road is grey. So I didn't see it. There's no lighting to reflect off it, because I think it was like a dark day, so I didn't see it at all. It was all pretty much combined. So there's no way to see it. It's kind of dangerous, actually. I think they should ban grey cars, for being honest, looking at it again. Yeah, getting very weird. So that's the other thing with teleportation. The other thing is it can be acted. One of the most obvious ones for me was probably the airport one, where a bunch of people were disappearing with the luggage remaining there. I think it's quite obviously acted and fake. Yeah, I think you can sometimes even see the cuts when that happens. So like when they cut from one bit of footage to the other, it's sometimes visible, but they don't often have to do that though, because you can just use a bit of fancy video editing software. You know, you use a brush, like a spray brush or whatever. I can't remember what it is, airsoft maybe? For some sort of soft brush to cut around the edges and blend it so the lighting looks natural. That's how they do it. It's not unusual. So background remains the same, but the foreground has it's disappearing, and then obviously it returns to a normal background. So it's like where they left it off. So it's like a whole plan behind it. Somewhat clever, but again, it just exposes the fakeness of these videos as well. It's the same with like magicians as well. Like, sometimes there is that trick, if it's not like I could be wrong if this is the wrong term, sleight of hand, then it's probably an editing trick. It reminds me of that fucking, is it David Blaine? I can't remember, or the Dynamo, was that it? I remember seeing this as a kid, but he walked on water or something, and apparently it was all fake. And also the stuff with him being on a bus, I think was fake too. It's like all edited in and quite cut together. Like, it's just putting him on a bus as in outside of it whilst just driving. Yeah. Again, a lot of it is pretty explainable. The same with ghost sightings, as I've said. The exposure, the dust, the pattern recognition that we have as psychology. Same with like cryptids, it applies there as well, as much as the ghost stuff. So, over the years I've just become immune to it, I suppose. I've just become used to it. I know that it's usually bullshit to begin with. I know it's not worth paying much attention to either. So yeah, I don't really think there's anything else to add really. But also that's the other thing, some of this looked AI, because there's the other thing is with this is the critical thinking aspect. Since when the fuck are people recording this, doing something? So there's two examples. So the one with AI, you can often tell because of the angle. Nobody holds their phone at their fucking chest unless they're walking or running. Some can though, some do. And yeah, the one with the person in the store that disappeared, quite obviously AI. You can see it glitching in and out. You can see different things, and it just looked unnatural. So it's pretty obvious there. And there's another one where chasing a guy on the street is that same one, but the same sort of angle again, and the person just disappears. But they have the phone put down as well. So there's also this aspect where they capture this footage and then there's a time where you don't see anything. So the footage is not entirely on this target or subject. It's face down for some fucking reason. So yeah, I don't really know what they're thinking with that. It's very strange. Yeah. Well, I think I've covered it all, but that's about it. So let's move on. So I just remembered something, and I did try to record it before, but it was really depressing, and I didn't want to burden people with that. But also, turns out I wasn't recording, so that may be good. Something I heard about in a Yomp podcast I listened to recently about this, well, I don't know what to call it. It's a fucking movie, and it's called like, oh, I can't remember it now. Gotta open it back up. Somehow. It had an interesting name. I think it's like Sylvester Stallone in the movie. Stop or my mother will shoot you. That sounds like, yeah. So, in this podcast episode, Booth and G are obviously talking about the names, by the way. Talking about the movie, and there's apparently a scene with a suicidal person in it which is really distasteful by today's standards, because it hasn't aged well, and it's basically the way they try to talk the suicidal person out of it is by saying there are people in worse situations, which is just a major yikes, especially with what we know about depression. And weirdly enough, this was something that M used to do, you know, abusive housemate in the last house. But M would always push this point and try to fucking make us feel better about ourselves through other people's suffering. Yeah, that didn't work, obviously. It was often like that sort of point with depression, and you know, you could be worse off, but can you? I don't think there's really much difference between the two. One's just a fucking horrific situation that nobody wants to be in, and the other is another situation nobody wants to have. Depression. Like, it's fucking dumb. Why is this even a conversation? It genuinely makes no sense. So once again, I'm disappointed that in this world people would actually do that, and have done that to me as well. I've had conversations where people just treat my depression as if it's like a temporary thing, which it's not. And especially with autism, it makes it much more difficult than it needs to be, than it already is. So it really fucking sucks. I just do not understand it. It's just real shit. So yeah, I don't even know what else to add, really. It's a bit weird that I'm stuck in this situation whether I like it or not, and it's with burnout, autistic burnout specifically. And I find that it's really complicated, especially because autistic burnout is an entirely different sort of thing. Entirely unique as well, because it's not like your typical burnout. Oh my god, it is fucking annoying to have, and I've often said this actually. If it was a cure for autism that was actually legitimately proven, I would take it so that I could advocate for people, or it's assuming it doesn't cause the other issues. But, you know, I'll still be having those other issues, I think, even with that cured. Because, yeah, I don't know if I'd still be anxious if I heard a noise or annoyed, or whatever it is. I don't know if I'll be able to handle food anymore, weirdly enough. Weirdly enough, I might get offed from actually removing my sensitivity to taste and smell. Maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, I'm just, again, disappointed by the world and how it reacts to depression. And I'm watching a video of a baby goat. Bye. Oh my god. Super fucking cute. Well, found the cure for depression. See you later. So, as a viewer, seeing Tomodachi life is actually really fucking insane. So I briefly remember it from Nintendo DS days. I've seen people play that. I think it was DS anyway. And it was kind of okay. It had a lot more going on, I think. But recently Nintendo obviously made Living the Dream, which is for, I think, Nintendo Switch 2 or 1? I can't remember actually. It might be for both, given how simple the graphics are. But, you know, I have some things to say, because I've watched some streams and I've watched some viewers and stuff, and it's so fucking good. That has to be said. It's just objectively well done. And this is coming from someone who's a skeptic and probably not even the biggest Nintendo guy. And I'm quite impressed with what I'm seeing. The amount of customization, the goofiness, the really out-of-place voices, which honestly freak me out a bit, because they're so like, they're not AI, but they're kind of like, yeah, they're weird. And so, it has that go for it. But today I watched one of the funniest fucking Tomodachi lives I've ever seen, because it's just something you wouldn't expect, but it does work. RT game. So yeah, people may know him as the Drift King, and he's also playing games. So he's made a Tomodachi Life Island called Tax Haven, and on it are a few presidents and a friend. I think a few friends actually, maybe. I can't remember who Dread is, if Dread is a person. Wait, is that a joke? I don't know. But it's so fucking good because he's also got his signature I Won't Die me on there as well. And there's this fucking amazing love triangle between Miss Cupcakes, spoiler obviously, Miss Cupcakes and Barack Obama and I Won't Die. Or as his nickname actually is like a meth someone. But this is what makes it so good, is the amount of creativity and customization you have. It makes it so special because those really plant memories in you and really make you think, because it's so stupid, it's so goofy. You could do anything you want in that. You could even do, well, if you wanted to, not really on board with it, but you could do like Trump and Epstein or something. It'd be so fucking weird but funny. And yeah, but honestly, it's definitely some good viewership if you ever see these, you see people playing it, because they're gonna have different islands. Everyone, I've seen so many screenshots around the world about this game. I've seen people making Deltarune characters in there. I've seen people making South Park characters. I've seen even what's it called, Final Fantasy XIV. I'm playing it right now. In this. And yeah, it's so creative because you also get to choose the prompts, you get to choose the interest, and you can make anything. Right now I'm watching someone make a penis on a head. I'm not even joking. But that's what's so good. And then you just got these random events that occur in between. You got story and drama, and it's so interesting. Like I said, the LT game video, I'm only on the first part, and there's I think 3 more parts to go through. But it's just so entertaining to watch. It's honestly a really special game. Like, this is exactly what I've said. Games with creativity are a lost art, and this is exactly what we need. Because also, you get to customise how you want, and there's no one to tell you what to do. They've given you unlimited customization, hence putting in presidents, hence anything really. And it also opened an opportunity, which I saw from this stream I'm watching with the dickhead. Yeah, that's what I'm saying about. No, also the dickhead, me, not the person, the streamer. But one of the things I've noticed is there is a site for getting these and customising your, well, Miis, is it, or Tomodachis? I don't know if they still call them Miis today, but your persons anyway, on the island. And you could get a step-by-step guide on how to make it, which is also really fun. Like, what the hell? And on top of that, you got unlimited options too. You've got about apparently 70 placements on the island. So it's really something different. Because it's sort of like a slice of life, but it's also its own thing, where there's obviously so much stuff going on with that. Like, it's really weird, but you know, this kind of stuff we needed to see happen, because there isn't much of it in the world, or the game space at the moment. So it can bring you a certain amount of joy, even if you're not really into it. Yeah, having the ability to draw also really helps. Because again, it's more customization with more customization. But as if that was already great enough, they've also outdone themselves in terms of just options and choice. So you can literally choose as genders, male, female, non-binary, or you don't get to choose any. I prefer not to say, I think, is one of them. But that shows not only just a great, I don't know what to call it, like great presentation, great inclusion. It's also just really well done. It's special. Like, holy crap. Like, where are the other games like this? I'm genuinely wondering. Again, it's insane. I've not seen a game like this in years. It seems really fun. It almost makes me wish I had a Nintendo Switch too, because I'd probably do something like that. You know, sorry. I could probably customize like a bunch of me's to be based on the characters I like. Also, like, I'll just make it so really goofy. Yeah. Again, it's so interesting. And it really is a lost art form, so yeah. I just felt like mentioning this because really we need to see more game developers exploring this aspect. Yeah, as I said, it's similar to the thing, or the game design concept I had, where I said that if I ever made a game, it'd be like a almost boomer shooter. It'd be like sort of Doom Eternal Arena style. But you'll be able to pick the enemies you fight, like the textures and anything really, other than the game world itself, or the overworld. You get to choose what world you go into. And it's done through obviously a narrative thing. I'd probably do it about like mind space and stuff. And also just training yourself, I guess, like train yourself to see the world in a different light, and it turns out you go in there and it's just pictures of, oh, who could it be? I'm trying to think who could be on the pictures. That for some reason I can't even think of a good character to put up there. God, I cannot think, but imagine some fucking character up there in favour of funniest character, maybe something like that. Maybe Walter White or someone. Or maybe even just Saul, Better Call Saul. And even being able to customise the soundtrack would be a great option too. And having that playing whilst you're doing, you're killing fucking demons or something or whatever. Like, it'd just be so interesting. It's such a unique idea. This is what I mean. It's the creativity that really makes it. So, I don't know, you could be fighting in another place, like maybe you go with, rather than tile textures, you go with the old like 6 square system. You upload an image for the skybox and you end up with that. So yeah, also customise that skybox, that'd be great. It's got so much potential, and you can fight in, I don't know, I'm trying to think of somewhere fun to fight, like somewhere on Earth, maybe a fictional place. Maybe the Goldshire Inn in World of Warcraft. Like, it's like fucking stupid like that, and you're fighting, I don't know, something crazy in there. But also picking your enemies too would be an interesting aspect to it. And also the enemies would probably have like a type of thing, so yeah. As I said, it's like, that's the creative part of it. It really does change things for the better, as always. It's why I like modding in games, even games where it's like multiplayer, where there is a risk of being banned, but who fucking cares? If it makes it more fun, and obviously doesn't harm other players, what's the problem then? That's why I've never taken issue with like Guna mods in even like Final Fantasy and even Genshin Impact when I used to play that. I genuinely don't fucking care. It's really harmless, and it does nothing to change like HYPERSKY. It does nothing to change Square Enix or even the player base. So yeah, like, what is the issue here, if there is one? It's what begs the question here, rather than anything else. At least anything else that comes to mind. So yeah, it was a weird burp. I don't know what else to say. It tasted like my pizza. Yeah, I love pizza earlier. Yeah, so I think I'll move on now. I've pretty much talked about everything I can. I do find this an interesting topic. It really needs discussing in the gaming community spaces, especially because I do think there is potential, or very untapped potential for that matter. Like multiplayer. Make it a fucking multiplayer game. Like, maybe not a shooter, but hack and slash, whatever you want. And I think there's so much potential with it. Genuinely would be amazing. I think that'll just change things for good. You know, join your teammates. It's like for, you know, a PvE run. You each design an enemy and you each design some textures. You come up with something weird. You basically play through the level. Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Anyway, I think I've said everything I can on that, but yeah, let's move on. So I briefly mentioned some blue sky, but I thought it was just funny. Politics. Weirdly enough. And it's about the UK. Yeah, so we're already seeing that problem with reform and reform voters essentially being stupid. And one of the things apparently recently was someone was to say something on television saying that London is a third world shithole run by a Pakistani. And that was a reform council leader. And apparently they wanted to censor that. So you don't want to admit you're a racist, but you are. Great. Some fucking great news. But then I had a realisation, because knowing what I know about Reform's manifesto from other sources, I definitely am kind of going to find it funny, and this is a good thing, really, that Reform voters themselves are going to get fucked over by this as well. They think they're doing revenge politics to a T, but it's actually going to backfire on them too. Which, as I've said before, but it's going to be funny to watch it go down. It's going to be funny to see when my benefits go on, where my fucking Guinness gone and shit, and they realise that it's because of reform. Like, it's going to be fucking hilarious. They're going to be so, I don't know, gobsmacked, but they're going to be really pissed off, and reform are going to scapegoat it to the Greens and the Democrats, for some reason, the Lib Dems, rather, maybe your party, and then it turns out it's not us, and then, yeah, it's going to get fucking messy, but it's going to be funny to watch, though. It's one of the things I sort of look forward to if we do get a reform government, because I think people tend to, again, scaremonger things a lot and exaggerate. Because let's be honest, even with Conservatives here in power, we didn't have exactly the worst things happening. Admittedly, we did terrible things like genocide, because they decided not to enforce lockdown until months after the fact. So, yeah, but in terms of other bad things like Conservatives have done. There have been many, but they're not nearly as bad as what Reform are doing, and it's kind of sad in a way, but it's also just going to highlight how severe a situation we're in with Reform and what we've been saying. And it's also going to be the biggest "I told you so" of the fucking UK, I think. Now, other than obviously Margaret Thatcher, which I obviously wasn't born yet to be around and see, as I don't think I was anyway. I was born in '97. It's just going to be funny to see that shit go down. Essentially the Thatcher 2.0, but worse shit, I think. It really depends on what it is. But I just find that fascinating and interesting. So it will reveal something about Reform voters and just everything in general. Yeah. It's just very strange, that way. I do think it's going to be funny to see what happens with Reform. Just going to be a laughing stock, much like Trump is at the moment in the US, obviously. I think that's got some potential. Again, as a funny thing. It really varies. Yeah. I don't really know what to add. It's just something very interesting. I felt like mentioning it. And it's going to be funny to see these clowns go down. Like, fucking hell. Like, they're so gay for Reform. They made me look less gay. So yeah, let's move on. Just putting this out there because I need to get this info public, I guess, but going through an episode at the moment and it's really not helping. I've just freaked the fuck out. I've had very severe depression and anxiety, and it also like it meltdowns, like so many things happening at once. It's pretty much feel like a Linkin Park song, I think, like a hurricane. It's just insane what I'm feeling at the moment. There's just no stop to it, and it really sucks because I struggle to cope in general. It's just really difficult for me. I do feel like I'm deteriorating slowly but surely. So I don't know what to say. It's just difficult. Yeah, like the point of struggle here is it seems to be. I don't know if it's to do with my food intake or calorie intake of a day or fat or whatever, but it just seems to happen every now and then. And I've had 2 episodes today with enough. I've had one related to my mental health earlier, and now it's been related to mental health and games, and just having a crisis literally in my head about potentially quitting Final Fantasy 14 again. I'm just feeling so fucking freaked out and depressed at the same time. It's frustrating. It doesn't help that the game is so unbalanced in some areas, so it just doesn't make sense why they still have it. They should just got out of a self-planned leap of faith, which notoriously is difficult. But this one was actually impossible, because it required like a medium hop, which was like one of the most difficult hops to pull off. So yeah, it's very strange. I somehow missed it, which obviously doesn't help things at all. I'm kind of annoyed at myself because I did submit a bug report saying you fuckers need to fix this, which again is a freak out sort of aspect, and again me having a crisis in my head about this, about the game, is really just part of that. It seems to be playing me up a lot. I don't really know what the solution is, if there is any. I will be taking a break from the game, obviously, on the 28th, or maybe even sooner, depending on if the payment goes through. Because I was considering unsubscribing. Unsubscribing from the game. Just for reasons, really, to move on to other games. I was looking for my Steam library, and there's a lot of games to play, but I'm worried I'll run out. Also, I was about to do ocean fishing and then withdrawn at the last second. I'm pretty sure I got a penalty now. No, apparently not. Just related to Joel. Yeah, it's like a real fucking mess, and this is what happens. This is what seems to happen with my mental health, and I had less of these when I was probably on my medication, but even then, I think that was just because the side effect was making me tired, and I just wish there was a way to give myself that ease without causing real harm to my body. One of the things that I considered before is asking about medical, like weed and stuff, and marijuana, whatever it's fucking called. Pretty sure they're the same thing. You know, I had episodes of positive things today too. I played guitar for a bit. I posted an update on some things. Also found some light in some of the darkness, but then it's just turned again. It's like really fucking scary. I don't know if you could tell by my voice, it's a mix of tiredness and it's fear. And that existential dread really just fucking maybe, well, not existential dread, but more like crisis. Just really made it sour suddenly. So yeah, I was just really reporting the quote-unquote episode as it is, how it's going on, what's happening. I've also tried to mitigate, again, like energy conservation, I guess. Try to get the issue sort of under, well, solved really, by watching live streams instead of doing what I normally do, which is like music at the moment. Although to be fair with like live streams, it's really 50-50. Depends on who you get, but watching people play Tomodachi live is actually kind of comforting, because it is quite fun. It's exactly what as I said before in the topic before this. What was it? It's a topic before the topic before. Yeah, that's a sentence. Fuck me. But that does provide some comfort, at least. Again, it's what the magical creative games do, sandbox games for that matter. I also feel weak. I've also... Wait. I had a headache before this. What the fuck? I don't know if I should be worried. I think there's not really any blood coming out of my system, I don't think, but so it can't be like a tumour or hemorrhage or anything, so I don't know. I did have to because stay on a lot of fatty foods, which is not really avoidable on days like this. Yeah, I don't know what's causing that. But maybe it's related, I don't know. Trying to think, what would be something I've had today that's maybe not good? Well, one thing I haven't had today, which I probably could do with having, I'm not sure. Probably a bit of chocolate, but it's too late in the evening for that. Yeah, just in one bit, but I can't. It might keep me up at night. And to be honest, I want to remain tired, as is. Yeah, but I'm also going to end the episode of the podcast on this, because why not? Yeah, even though I'm feeling real fucking suicidal at the moment. Just not sure if I want to live or die. So I have to try and move on in some way. It's the only really bit of advice that actually helps, just moving forward. So yeah, I don't know. Really not a strong person, so it's hard to say. So yeah, guess that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. So if you did somehow manage to listen, I generally don't understand how people can do it. I can't even stand my own voice. It's fucking useless. It's always been a problem. It's never been a good voice at all. Even though I've tried hybrid Americanisms and stuff, and it just doesn't fucking work. I just don't get it. But anyway, see everyone next time.